tirẹ̀. Wá wọnú wa, kó wá àfọwàlà gbá ara àgbà rẹ̀. Wá yóò fún òkè iṣẹ́. Ilé rẹ̀ láì mú àwa mi ṣe. Ìrètí ìrẹ̀ wá wọnú wa. Wá wọnú wa, kó wá àfọwàlà gbá ara àgbà tá àwa yóò fi ṣẹ́gun òkè iṣẹ́. Òkè iṣẹ́ ìlérí rẹ̀ láì mú. Ó ṣèrántí ìlérí rẹ̀ tó ṣe fúnjọ mímọ́. Ẹ̀mí mímọ́ sọ̀kalẹ̀ sáré wá. Àwa mi ṣe ìrètí rẹ̀ wá wọnú wa. Wá wọnú wa, a kò wá àfọwàlà gbá ara àgbàrá tá àwa yóò fi ṣẹ́gun òkè iṣẹ́. Èrí rẹ̀ láì mú. Ó ṣèrántí ìlérí rẹ̀ tó ṣe. Jehovah, Jésù Kristi, Michael mímọ́, bàbá wa àti Ọlọ́run wa, a dúpẹ́ ní ọwọ́ rẹ̀ ní tó fi ìmọ̀ òtítọ́ rẹ̀ fún wa, ní tó wà pẹ̀lú wa nínú gbogbo. Nípa èyí lọ́kàn wa fà sí láti súnmọ́ ní ti ẹ̀rí rẹ̀. Bàbá mímọ́ wá súnmọ́ wa. Dá ìdí wa kó yà wá sí mọ́. Kàwáyé ní ìrìn àjò náà pẹ̀lú rẹ̀. Ìmọ́lẹ̀ rẹ̀ tó mọ́ sí àwọn ọmọ jẹ́ kó mọ́ sí wa. Kí ìṣògo orúkọ rẹ̀ kó ní ìtumọ̀ láyé wa. Ìrìn àjò náà dọwọ́ rẹ̀. Wákàtí agbára ẹ̀rí rẹ̀ lápè. Lórúkọ Jésù fìdí ẹ̀rí ẹ̀ múlẹ̀ fún wa. Kí orúkọ rẹ̀ kó dímọ̀ fún ìyìn lógo. Lórúkọ Jésù lọ́wọ́. Àdúrà tí ó gbà lọ́wọ́ àti ìbẹ̀lẹ̀ rẹ̀. Jábọ̀ fún orúkọ rẹ̀. Kí ìjọba àṣẹ. Ìjọba ilẹ̀ ayé fún wa lóúnjẹ ọjọ́ alóòrùn. Dárí ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ wa jù. Bí a ti ń Nàìjíríà tó sọ, má fà sí ìdẹ̀rù. Sọ́gbà náà bìí sí. Tó ìjọba ń tẹ̀lé. Sọ́gbà àti láìláì. This is the beginning of a new session in the house. This is the testimony, the Bonipa session. The session where we open up a testimony or the testimonies of God. They use where we are taught the use of the testimony of God for our life, because it's a thing for you to have something, and it's another thing for you to exercise yourself in that thing. A lot of us have so many testimonies of God, but we really do not exercise ourselves. When you deny yourself the exercise, the exercise of yourself in the testimony of God, you deny yourself the power inherent in the grace of God made readily available to you. I take it again. When you deny yourself the exercise in the testimony of God given to you, you deny yourself the power inherent in the grace of God made readily available to you. How do I mean? The testimony, we will talk about testimony now. I mean to say, in the testimony of God is the power of God loved them. For you at all times. This is the difference between what you think or what you feel and what he says. God is confirmed in his testimony. Testimony is about the voice. It's about what he says. Hence, the projector of testimony is your faith. That means your testimony is projected in hearing from God. What did you hear from him? What did you hear him say? I have on this session we would have many teachers, but our how do I put it? Our lineup of teachers is dependent on the use of. This is not a theoretic class; it's a practical class where everyone goes and comes back with something. This was born out of the crying and the yearnings of the heart of people. When I saw the inadequacies, the people that have God's testimony being seen or shown or exhibiting themselves in the disabilities of God, impotence, displaying the impotence of God in their life. By the testimony, you display the strength of God. Denying yourself or operating out without the testimony, you show the impotence of God. You show the weakness of God. God becomes weak, he becomes impotent in your life. But the moment you are out to show his testimony, the moment you exercise yourself in his testimony, I tell you the truth, is you make God proud. You activate the force in God. Let me give you an example. There was a situation in John chapter 11, a very critical situation, when two sisters with one brother, Mary, Martha, and Lazarus, something was about to happen. From verse 1, a first reader, please.
No. And when they came nigh to Jerusalem, unto Bethphage and Bethany at the Mount of Olives, he sendeth forth two of his disciples, and saith unto them, Go your way.
John chapter 11. Are you reading John 11?
Mark 11.
I didn't say Mark, I said John.
A certain man was sick, named Lazarus of Bethany, the town of Mary and her sister Martha.
Let me hear from here. Who is reading?
Now a certain man was sick, named Lazarus of Bethany, the town of Mary and her sister Martha. It was that Mary which anointed the Lord with ointment and wiped his feet with her hair, whose brother Lazarus was sick. Therefore his sister sent unto him, saying, Lord, behold, he whom thou lovest is sick. When Jesus heard that, he said, The sickness is not unto death, but for the glory of God,
It's enough.
that the Son of God might be glorified thereby.
That's enough. What does that show? Those who without testimony will be those who have a relationship with God. 1. 2, there are 2 ways to testimony. God can speak freely, but sometimes there is a need for you to say something, and he will say something as touching a situation, as touching a condition, as touching an occurrence, as touching a state of mind. When you are good relating with God, you must have a testimony. What was the testimony here? Jesus said, they sent to him and said, the one whom you loved is dead, is sick. Look at his testimony for them. The sickness is not unto death. Take that again.
The sickness is not unto death.
It's not unto death.
But for the glory of God.
But for the glory of God.
That the Son of God might be glorified thereby.
Son of God might be glorified thereby. The sickness is not unto death, but to the glory of God, that the Son of God might be glorified thereby. That is a line. To the hearer, that is the faith of Jesus. And that should become their faith. And guess what? Read on.
Now Jesus loved Martha.
Yes.
And her sister and Lazarus.
Yes.
When he had heard, therefore, that he was sick, he abode 2 days still in the same place where he was.
Mm-hmm.
Then after that saith he to his disciples, let us go into Judea again. His disciples say unto him, Master, the Jews of late sought to stone thee, and goest thou differ again? Jesus answered, Are there not 12 hours in the day? If any man walk in the day, he stumbleth not, because he seeth the light of this world. But if a man walk in the night, he stumbleth, because there is no light in him. These things said he, and after that he saith unto them, Our friend Lazarus sleepeth, but I go that I may awake him out of sleep. Then said his disciples, Lord, if he sleep, he shall do well. Howbeit Jesus spoke of his death, but they thought that he had spoken of taking of rest in sleep. Then said Jesus unto them plainly. Then said Jesus unto them plainly, Lazarus is dead, and I am glad for your sakes that I was not there, to the intent ye may believe. Nevertheless, let us go unto him.
Look at the thing. Jesus he was sick, and he gave the word, the sickness is not unto death. And the guy died. And the same Jesus said, Lazarus, our friend, is asleep. I want to go and wake him. He said, no, it's not too hard when he's sleeping. I'm not there. But let's see what becomes of the testimony. From verse 20.
Then Martha, as soon as she heard that Jesus was coming, went and met him. But Mary sat still in the house.
Martha heard that Jesus was coming after Lazarus was dead and buried. Don't forget, he was told at the state when he was still sick. And Jesus said, it's not unto death. And he died and was buried. So all hopes were lost in reality. But look at the projection of testimony. Talk to me.
Then said Martha unto...
Martha now said to him.
Then said Martha unto Jesus, Lord, if thou hadst been here, my brother had not died.
If you had been here, my brother would not have died.
But I know that even now, whatsoever thou wilt ask of God, what God will give it to thee. God will give it to thee.
I know, even now, whatever you ask of God, God will give it to you. Look at testimony now. He knew Jesus has said, she knew Jesus has said, it's not unto them. but he's dead. But she projected into Jesus and said, knowing who you are, what does that make? For you to make testimony a reality, the personality of faith must be enlarged. To bring testimony into reality, you must enlarge the personality of your faith. Yes, you were not here. He died. But you have said something that is not unto death. Yes, now that you are here, whatever you ask of God, God will give it to you. Yes?
Jesus saith unto her, thy brother shall rise again. Martha saith unto him, I know that he shall rise again in the resurrection at the last day. Jesus said unto her, I am the resurrection and the life. He that believeth in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live. And whosoever liveth and believeth in me shall never die. Believest thou this? She saith unto him, Yea, Lord, I believe that thou art the Christ, the Son of God, which should come into the world. And when she had so said, she went her way.
Exalting the personality of faith activates the reality of testimony. So the process is, one, you have the faith. Two, you have the personality of the faith. When I say personality, I talk about the source. A lot of you take God for yourself in exchange. When God will say something, you turn yourself to the one that will work out what God said. The possibility of you losing the efficacy of what God said is on the eyesight. Testimony is not prophecy. Somebody prophesied to me that I will have I'll have many wives. That's not a testimony. That's prophecy. Okay, now I have many wives. That's not a testimony. That's not a testimony. The testimony is in understanding what the person of that prophecy, the spirit of that prophecy meant by the wives. Understanding the values. Okay, they say I will be a man of one wife. Now I have the wife. No, that is not the testimony. The testimony is knowing the value by the, how do I put it? By accepting. Is that acceptance? No. Admitting the missing value. You may accept it and not admit it. To admit is to take in. To accept is to agree with. When you accept something, you take that thing. Oh yeah, I agree with it. You may not put it in yourself. When you put it in yourself, it becomes admittance. So when you now agree and accept and admit, God, for God's testimony, it is not good that this man should be alone. I'll make a help meet for him. And God made the man agree to the fact that there is something missing. And then God created that thing, took a rib out of it, made the woman, and then and the man admitted the woman and said, this is actually the bone. That's an admittance. The bone and the flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman because she was taken out of. Who told him she was taken out? So by that, he was taking her in to a place. Admittance. A lot of you pray, but you are not admitting the code of your prayers into your system. That's how you pray amiss. You pray to forget. When you pray your prayer, you are lost in forgetfulness. You are acting your own way. You are acting oblivious of what you have prayed for. So even when God wants to relate to you, you are not there. You see, you are not there. And for God to bring a word of testimony, look at Abraham. By this time next year, Sarah would have a son. I'll come again next year. Sarah, your wife, shall have a son. God was talking about 9 months' time. It's according to the time of life. That a woman, according to the time of the pregnancy period, this woman will give birth. And that was it. Abraham admitted that thing into his system. And God agreed and said, okay. And the Bible says, and God visited Sarah as he said.
The Lord did unto Sarah
and he did unto Sarah as he had spoken. And she conceived and gave birth. At the set time of which God has spoken to you. You see, before God came to our return at the time of life, when God first spoke to Abraham, Abraham said, let Ishmael live. But at the second time, he saw God is trying to show a testimony there. Sarah will conceive. I will come into the time of life. And it took Sarah to laugh. As soon as Abraham admitted it, God sanctioned it. So in testimony, the person or the value of your faith. Admitting the value or the person of your faith. Imagine Joshua looking up and saying, let the sun stand here and the moon stand here until I'm done with this thing. And the Bible recorded, God has not had man before and after like that.
day like that before it or after it, and the Lord hearkened unto the voice of a man. The God fought for Israel.
That was as at that time. How would you explain Elijah now saying, fire come down? That's another answering of God. That was not before or after. But those ones are not testimonies. They are miracles. They are wonders and miracles. So I'm trying to separate things now. Testimony comes from first what he said. You know, faith comes by hearing and hearing by the word of God. He said it, and you admit, accept and admit it, and you have the reality. David was anointed. God said, I have found a man after my heart who will draw my will. He was anointed. And because he admitted the spirit of that anointing and the witness of God, the testimony of God into his life, he got to the battle. How would Israel be troubled by an uncircumcised Philistine? I need to get this one down. And he said, let no man's heart be weary or be afraid. I'll go. He admitted that, and he began to become a shepherd for Israel. That will give peace to the people. So in this session, we want to begin to look at the power of testimony. How do you, one, get your testimonies out? Two, how do you exercise yourself in your testimony? Making use of your grace. A grace readily made available. Make use of the ability of God readily made available to you in order to make all things, if I say all things work together for good to those who love God. Those who love God are the people that operate on his testimony. Your show of God's love is in you operating on his testimony. So you cause all things to work in your favor. When you use his testimony, one, you cannot be put to shame. No matter what. Because the authenticity of the testimony is the display of his power to produce. You can have one testimony and operate on 10,000 principles. You might hear the Bible says, one shall send 1,000 to flight. and 2, 10,000. One, that one is not a man. It's a man with his testimony. You know, he told Joshua, no man shall be able to stand before you all the days of your life. That was God testifying to himself, the ability that was made available. So when you say testimony, you talk about God speaking to you, the voice of God to you, operating by the virtue of his ability made available to you. God's testimony is the voice that is showing the ability readily made available to you. Imagine David wanted the ark of God and God to rest, and he built it a tabernacle for God in his heart, and God held that tabernacle until Christ came. And because he called David the shepherd of his people, he tell the kings, and he will speak to the prophet, I will appoint, like Ezekiel, he said, I will appoint David my servant as a prince over them, as a shepherd. David was long gone, but the testimony of God remained. David exercised himself. I know you, by this now you understand what testimony means. So, like I said, this is a practical session. A session where people that, if you don't have testimony, if you are not sure of your testimony, you need to go and ask. You need to go and pray. God, I had this thing. Is it you? If you have one, just one, that one can turn the whole world upside down. Let alone if you now have 10 or you have 100, because God is a speaking God. Keep talking. As far as your relationship is steady with Him. So it's by measure of faith. How much of His ability is made readily available? Jesus said you only have to get a seed of mustard in the quality or quantity of your faith, in the measure of your faith. Just one seed. He says it's good enough. You hear one word, it's good enough. If you now have an handful of seed of mustard for faith, because there is a need for us to use what God gave us. That's why we call this session testimony power, where we show, where we are trained by other people's testimony in order for us to go and exercise ourselves, engineer ourselves. Because this God, as long as He said so, no matter how you look at it from, He will work it out. That's about that. So like I said, we will be bringing in teachers. Or not really teachers, but let me call them teachers because what do they call those who? Trainers, yes. Because this is a way of exercising ourselves in our God, in the faith of our God. That's testimony. We'll call trainers. But we'll begin from one of our unique trainers now. If one trainer, this is not like character claim that they just stupefied. And they just pick anybody to come and speak without the measure. This one is strictly by measure. If you are not having something to show forth, you can't teach here or you can't sing. We don't need those who went to the Bible and read. And this is not about reading the Bible. It's not theoretical. It is more practical. You want to tell us, okay, I've used this testimony for like 5 times. And the 5 times, you want to show how the muscles is flexed and then the body is compacted. On this note, I use the testimony here. This is the way I did it. This was what I said. This was the way it went. And this was what God did. And it took this long. Now, this thing happened again because all things, the topic, the general topic for this session is all things work together for good. All things. When you just drop a testimony in anything, it must function in good. Just drop a testimony, it will function good. It will bring out good. And you will see the beauty. So on this note, I will call on Uncle Moses. He will be the one to, he's like the present trainer now. He will train us on the use of testimonies and he will enlighten us. Subsequently, I told you, like I said, things will be, people will be coming in. But tentatively, we can still make use of its modules so that everyone will go back and get their, I've told you the way you know your testimony. Know it and use it. So in the next 25 minutes.
Sorry, Baba Ilia, can I quickly ask a question?
What is the question?
Okay, like, let's say I have a dream about somebody, then the thing came to pass, it came to reality. So I was now like, I now went back to God and I was now like, God, I'm sure you are the one that told me this thing about this person. So that same hand that you used to do that person's, that you used to perfect that which you told me about that person, use the same hand to give me, like I requested for 3 things. I've gotten 1. The other 1 is in process. The other 2 are in process. Is that testimony complete? And it happened within 24 hours.
That's a testimony.
Okay.
I don't know about incomplete testimony.
No, like it's in process. Like, okay, I asked for 3 things. Should I say it now, Baba?
I didn't say it.
Last week, you said I shouldn't say it.
I didn't say it.
Okay.
We have our teacher now.
All right, sir.
Our trainer now. Because a lot of us have forgotten. Don't worry. Next session, it will be inclusive. Because everyone, this is a time for us to re-engineer ourselves and wake up ourselves. So you not be lazy in what God told you, in the God that spoke to you. I told you, you must get the word and the person of that word, the faith and the person of the faith. Some of you remember the word, you don't use the person of the faith, of the word. So it's just lying fallow. Take away the person of the word from the word, you are on your own. Take away the word from the person, you are on your own. That's why you must confirm the person. when you have it, he gave you that thing. If it be you, let this be done. Bring this to pass. And then you begin to use it anyhow and operating it and bringing things to pass and to normalcy. That's the way it goes. Yes, sir. Uncle Moses.
Hallelujah.
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 Hallelujah. First and foremost, I thank God for allowing us to converge, to learn from Him, because everything given to us through the Spirit is from God. And I pray that as we have come tonight, as we have converged tonight, our convergence will not be in vain. In the testimony of God, the power in the testimony of God. I'll be speaking today from personal experience on how I have applied God's testimonies and how they worked out so that we all can benefit, because the manifestation of the Spirit, according to Apostle Paul, is meant for all to profit. Now, when the show of the power of the testimony of God must first be present, it must be obvious in your mentality. The moment God is defeated in your mentality, God is defeated in your battle. That testimony of God becomes ineffective. Because if God declares you to be something, this is who you are, and you walk and you work in that consciousness, you can never be moved. When God sends a word to you, like we were taught on the 13th of October, that when God declares you, He is testifying of you. According to Isaiah 55, verse 11, it says, "So shall my word be that goeth forth from my mouth. It shall not return to me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it." The moment you hear anything, you see anything, you get any information, no matter how terrible that information is, no matter how depressing or heartbreaking it is, it must never change the mentality with which you walk and work with God. For example, before I started wearing my brother Sultana, when I was still wearing four corner, I was 12 back then, and I went to the parish of my birth, Akokawon, for service. And I was told on that day that from this moment on, you must, whenever you are praying, you must speak as this person, because this is who you are. So I heard that and I held on to it. In 2016, I was at Makoko and I was speaking to our father, and he said the same thing. This is who you are. So I went to God, and because there were some problems around at that time, I was in Zion Parish, and well, as I said in one of my last lectures, that I was the coordinator of the Sunday school, and then there was this family. that came from Abuja Central to our parish, and their children were admitted into the Sunday school. So we were having protection one evening, and I heard it wasn't that they came to tell me. I was there, I saw it, I heard it. The mother of the three children called her kids to the side of the Sunday school, and was telling their eldest son, his name is Samuel. She told her eldest son that, listen, you are going to that Sunday school to kick Moses out. I was behind them. They were in a corner, they were in a secluded place. So I heard everything. You are going there to kick him out, and you must not show any weakness. You must push him out. So I heard that, and the moment you hear anything and you rush into prayer, 99% of the time you will make errors in your sentences before God. Before you go to God at all, you must analyze what you want to say. If something happens, brah, and you do not process it, you just go before God with the palpitation, with the hypertension in you. There is a very high tendency of you misspeaking before God. So I waited. I didn't say anything. I didn't pray. A week to our juvenile harvest, on the Thursday, the church made garments for every church member, for every Sunday school child. So we're sharing the garments, and I went to pray. I said, God, this harvest is in 3 days. Whosoever, because you told me when I was 12, and our father Baba repeated that same thing in 2016, that this is who you said I am. By the power in that, in what you said I am, in that authority that follows what you said I am, whosoever or whatsoever is planning to bring me to shame, to humiliate me, or to disgrace me in this harvest, I prayed the prayer in Yoruba. I said, "Àìsàn tí ò gba abẹ́rẹ́ ni kò fi kọlù." In English, that would mean an ailment, a sickness or an illness that cannot be cured by injections. Strike such a person with it. So in the afternoon, we're sharing the garments, as I said, and this boy, the eldest boy of this family, Samuel, he sat with us, because wherever I am in this Sunday school, kids love coming around. So we're seated in a second. Then he came, and then he was asking that he needs raw pepper, and we're like, raw pepper, kilo fe patashi. What do you need it for? He said he's feeling feverish, that he needs pepper. Okay, so we sent someone to go and get him black pepper, Cameroon pepper. So he was taking spoonfuls of black pepper, chewing and swallowing it. And I was like, Samuel, do you want to burn your throat? Only he's feeling feverish, that when he eats the pepper, that the fever will crash. I said, no problem. On Saturday, we were to have our Bible quiz. I was in the Sunday school. People were just running to meet me. Bramosis, coordinator. Something is happening. Something is happening. What is the matter? What is the problem? They said I should follow them. Okay. So we went to the big church, to the media units upstairs in the gallery. And this Samuel guy was laid down on the floor, and his body was covered in measles. In fact, OTW everywhere was filled with pus. Everywhere was coming out white liquid from the face, from the arms. He could not wear his shirt. Every part of his body was just oozing out pus. So, and the church had already said they will not give us a sound engineer for the harvest. That will be our sound engineer because he is close to our age range, and they want kids to take care of the entire day. I was like sound engineer, he called him a budget now that they should rush him to the hospital. So Molokwe, I went to call the head of the sidesmen in Zion at that time. We call him Bale. That something is happening to Samuel. Please come and carry him to the hospital. At least let them rush either Ogun Abere drip. Say, what's this? Abere? No. They don't give measles patients injections. Immediately I heard that, I remembered my prayer. So they rushed him out of the church. In fact, on the harvest day, he went to go and sit in one corner in the choir. He could not show his face. He was wearing dark shades because you won't even recognize him. So God said, this is who I said you are. Did you say that truly? And somebody is saying they are here to replace me. Strike them with this thing. And in 3 days, it was perfected. A lot of people have God saying, this is who I have made you, either in your parishes or in a group or in the nation. This is who I said you are. When any power or when anything confronts you, confronts your position according to the word of the Lord, activate the declaration of the Lord, his testimony. Now, when God will speak to, there was a promise of God that God gave to Abraham. God said, I will make of you a great nation. There were only, after Abraham, God told that to two other people. God told it to Ishmael, I will make him a great nation. God told it to Jacob, Genesis 46, I will make of thee a great nation. God brought the word back to Moses. After Abraham, after Ishmael, after Jacob. When the Israelites came to the mount and God saw that they have offended, God told Moses, leave, let me consume, let me destroy them. I will make of you a great nation. Moses told God to be patient. Don't do that. Whenever you attempt, either by commission or omission, whenever you attempt to stop or to take yourself out of what God has said, of his testimony, you are coming to cry in the end. Because God brought the word to Moses, I will make of thee a great nation. Moses said, no. Remember your promise. Remember what you said. Now, if you destroy them now, what would the Egyptians say? He pacified God. God said, I have heard. Eventually, through whom did Moses make an unforgivable error? The same people God was saying, let me destroy. Whenever God declares you as anything, stay in that thing. Build yourself around it. So whenever anything comes, you are ready. You are prepared. Now, in January 2019, I was given another.
Let's operate one after the other.
All right, sir.
This one
all right, sir.
This one is a lead. A lead. That is to say, before you can come to testimony, you must know who you are. That's a breakdown. I just said your relationship with God, faith, I say is according to the power made available to you. Now, He came and said, if God says this is who you are, let that be in your mentality. We take it one after the other. Today, now, the assignment is you need to go and know who God says you are. You only need to ask God, who do you say that I am? Who or what do you call me? What's the value placed on me? And then you begin to talk to God and think in that manner. I told you this is a process where you exercise yourself. That was a good leg out. Everyone here who does not know who God said they are, they will have many promises. Abraham had promises all around him without fulfillment until God said, walk before me and be thou perfect. And Abraham began to see himself. It was after that that God said, you must be circumcised. I want to be your God. And Abraham gave heed to that. God said, you cannot be called Abraham again, but Abraham. And he began to think in the consciousness of Abraham. That's how he entertained God and the host of heaven. And the next thing we see is God said, I know him. He would command his children. You see it? And in the same token, God said, take that son whom you love, go and offer him. And Abraham was ready to do whatever God says. And God said, now I know you fear God. Now I know. And he began to receive the testimonies in reality. First leg is what we have just been taught. That was a good outing, the first leg. If testimony is about is projected through faith or by faith, I told you, God speaks to you according to who you are, who he says you are, not who you think you are, who he says you are. So whatever he says is according to his judgment, who you are. So check yourself in what God tells you. This session will come we'll come to this session every week, once a week, so that we have days to go and rehearse, do our exercises by ourselves. Everyone exercising themselves, because I told you, one of the reasons why I brought this session to 4 is because by next year now, we will be looking for the 30 people. Whosoever does not have himself exercised in the testimony of God that was given to them. Sorry, you are not denied to be a member, or you will not be amongst that class. Those 30. Yeah, and I told you, what concerns me in the 30 is their testimony must be effectual, working adequately, always working. Because through them we will defeat the enemies of God. Through them, the enemies of God will be defeated. And then we'll check their character. That's the 2 that pertains to me. There are 7 criteria, but 5 belongs to them in the spiritual, 2 belongs to me. So that you will not be exempted. You are being taught, if you know who God calls you, and you begin to walk in that mentality, you are saving yourself the disappointment of having unfulfilled promises. You are saving yourself of the disappointment of having an ineffectual testimony or ineffective testimony. This is the testimony part session. And I want to pray that our God would help us through.
Amen.
If I critically look at the timing, we would have like 7 weeks from today. And then the 8th will be yes, all together. The 8th week will be on the January. Yes. January 4. We have 8 weeks all together before the D-Day. So whatever we can do in 8 weeks to train yourself and become effectual, bringing all things to work together for good. And I told you why I put it close to our time of prayer is that by the time you finish, you go and he just said 2 things that I would repeat. Your person. And he said, when you hear anything, don't rush. Be calm. Analyze and do your breakdown before you go to God. I pray this night what you have had will be of great benefit to your life.
Amen.
And God would give you the enablement and the empowerment to be able to use it and withstand to stand.
Amen.
Against the wiles of the enemy. You see the word withstand to stand. Everybody in the world, that's the process. You need to withstand to stand. God will help us. Thank you for today. Trainer Moses and everyone present. May God be with us all.
Amen.
May the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God, and the sweet fellowship of the Holy Spirit rest upon us.
Amen.
Grant us His enablement by grace. Enlighten our eyes of understanding. So that as we journey in this testimony past session, the ability of God and His grace personified that will help us through will be granted unto us. His wisdom in faith will walk with us so that that which is the purpose for our journey will be met and be actualized in Jesus' name.